Hello and welcome to part 3 in my World Mental Health Fit Day videos. My name is Arrow, go by they them pronouns, and today I'm going to be talking about my experience with medication for like mood stabilizers and my experience with specifically like naturopathic mood stabilizers. So yeah, I think there is a time, I've been struggling with my mental health for about 6 years, significantly. 6 years? Yeah, about that. So, yeah, and I do think at different times, different medications would have been better, but I wasn't on medication for a very long time because I was not talking about my mental health, and I was really hiding it and being very secretive, so no one knew, so I didn't have access to medication. And then by the time I did reach out, I didn't really quite describe how bad things were. Basically, I got to a point where I understood how my brain worked and how to fight negative thoughts and work through things. So, like, I really, really understood that so well. So I was like, I don't want to alter my brain chemistry. And I was really afraid of that. But I was like, it was just also a lot that was happening, and my brain was just constantly busy with like a ton of negative thoughts, and although I could fight them off, I just wanted to feel more peace. And then also the physical symptoms of my mental illness were really affecting me. Like I just would feel like that sense of just anxiety, like that kind of on edgeness all the time, and that was like physical, and also just feeling really like having chronic fatigue and muscle soreness, and so I was wondering if medication would help with that too. I'd met with my doctor a couple times, talking like my family doctor, who had said that I did have the option of starting medication, and I was like, nah. And I was just really uncomfortable with the idea of that, because something that's kind of ridiculous about that is like, oh, I don't want to deal with any change right now because there's so much going on in my life, so I'll just wait until I'm more mentally stable to take mood stabilizers, which is ridiculous. But I knew that, but I knew it was ridiculous, but also I really felt like that. Yeah. So that's kind of what led me to try naturopathic mood stabilizers, because they didn't seem like as intense of an option. But like also this time, but also like I did feel kind of invalidated for not being on pharmaceutical medication. And there was times where I was like, oh, if it was actually bad enough, I would be. And even though it was an option for me, like I really felt that way, like, oh, it must not be that bad because I'm not dead and I'm not on them. Which is ridiculous too, because like everyone copes differently, and like there's a ton of people who use naturopathic medication. There's a ton of people who aren't on medication. Doesn't mean they're not mentally ill, and doesn't mean they can't get better too. So like everyone's experience is so individual, and I was able to get a lot better without medication. It would have probably been easier in some ways, but I also liked feeling like I was really, really working through things, even though it was really hard at times. But anyways, I tried St. John's wort first when, like before I'd even been really working through my problems back, before I had started therapy. I tried it for like a month, but I just did it randomly. Like I was like, oh, I'm feeling really, really anxious, I'm just gonna take one. And it's like, that's not how it works. And so it did nothing, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So then fast forward through time. And fast forward through when I was getting help and getting better, and then I started again, where I was feeling all these feelings of not feeling valid or whatever, but also really wanting help, but also not wanting to alter my mental state. This was been about, would have been 2017? Yeah, probably the beginning of 2017, kind of February time, I ended up going on St. John's Wort, and this is the end of my grade 11 year, and it did really help, like immediately. Well, not immediately, but about a month of taking it 3 times a day, which is how you're supposed to do it. I really started to feel like a lot more energy, and I was like, wow, I slept and it made me feel well rested. What is this concept? Like, it was like, whoa, I feel energy. Like, people feel this way all the time. Like, what? And like, I did start to feel a little bit better physically, less groggy, and my brain did feel like a little bit quieter, but it was still very hectic, still very hard to cope. But it helped by making things a little bit easier. The only thing is that the fact that I had more energy, like St. John's Wort is typically used to treat anxiety, but it can also be used to treat depression as well. But for me, I found that it treated my depression well, but not my anxiety. So I had more energy, and I felt like, because I wasn't experiencing chronic fatigue, but that caused me to have a lot more anxiety, because I'm like, oh, I have energy now, and then I'm like, oh, I have energy now, so my anxiety got really bad. So I was like, okay, I need to switch. So I did more research and decided to go on 5-HTP. It's like 5-hydrotryptophan something. I don't know what it is. If you look up 5-HTP, you'd find it. And so these are things I just buy in the pharmacy in containers and whatever. So I decided to start doing that. Also in combination with other things. I'm still doing therapy. I'm still doing like trying to do meditation, take care of myself physically, like, you know, eating and sleeping properly and drinking water and whatever. So it's a combination of a bunch of different things. So, but I'm going on 5-HTP, and it really helped. I don't think it quite helped my depression quite as much as St. John's Wort did, but it did help a little bit, and it also helped my anxiety. So I just started to feel overall better. But there was a process of switching, because you're not supposed to have them at the same time. So I kind of weaned myself off of St. John's Wort, and then I wasn't on any medication for about 2 weeks. And like, I kind of had it, so I was doing, well, like 2 a day, and then 1 a day, and then 1 every few days, and then nothing. And I did nothing for 2 weeks, and I felt so awful. And it just was bad, and I was in a bad state. And I wrote the poem I Am Afraid in that, which is a good, like, as a poem I've posted before, but that was during the period of time when I wrote it, which, you know, looking back is like, wow, it's really obvious. But I didn't necessarily realize that that's why I was feeling so awful. Because it just, like, I don't know. It's obvious looking back, but, you know, I didn't necessarily realize that as much in the time, or like how bad it was. And then so I started a 5-HTP, and that started to get a lot better. I'm still currently on it. I ended up buying a different brand once, and it made me feel sick because it had higher magnesium content. But like, every time I went to eat, or like every time I feel hungry or whatever, I would be accompanied with feeling really nauseous, and I just feel nauseous like a lot. So I really like this brand, the Nature's Bounty brand, if you can find it. And like, this is a huge pack. This is about, depending, I usually get it on sale for like $20, and then it lasts me like 5 months, so that's really nice. Sometimes it's like $35, but basically, like in Canadian. But yeah, that, I don't have any side effects from that, which is incredible. So like, I don't feel any side effects, but it does help me. And so that I'm on that. The thing is, you do have to take it 3 times a day. So especially when I'm when I'm not in the best place mentally, like, it's really hard to take it 3 times a day, because I don't often eat like 3 meals a day. And also just, it's hard to remember sometimes, but I do notice it if I'm not, like, if I miss it a few days in a row, like if I miss 1 dose or 2 doses or whatever. consistently for a couple days, like I do start to feel worse. So yeah, I do start to feel worse. But generally it's been really helpful to me. And so yeah, I think people should know that there's different options out there. You don't have to take pharmaceuticals to be valid. You don't have to take pharmaceuticals in general. There are other options, and they can work, and they can be really helpful. So that's my experience with that. But yeah, so yeah, and I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you watched the other ones, I hope you enjoyed those. And yeah, so that's all. Have a great day. Bye.